with the tower on it just ahead of us. That was the Central Railroad of New Jersey terminal. Now, folks, it played a big role in the immigrant experience. By the time Ellis Island opened for processing, America had recently completed the train system all the way across the U.S. So as the immigrants were processed at Ellis Island, those who were not going to stay in this area would be taken by ferry boat from Ellis Island to that building right there. And then from there, they could take trains as the trees went all points west of the Great Trains, all points west right there, into and across the country. And since that little building right there was the very first step in the American life for millions of freshly minted immigrants over the years. City of the tall skyscraper at its corners, the Goldman Sachs Tower. It was designed by the renowned Argentine-American architect Cesar Pelli, who was famous for designing the Petronas Towers. Now, it's quite remarkable what's happened over here, folks. None of the buildings that we see here in Jersey City existed a mere 20 years ago. This was a terribly run-down, post-industrial, neglected area, and it's gone through a thorough transformation to the point where it is now nicknamed the Gold Coast of New Jersey. And the building by Cesar Pelli. Now, Cesar Pelli also designed the World Financial Center up ahead of us on the right, and the Winter Garden, the little glass building there. So his work forms sort of a gateway as we come back onto the Hudson River. Big structures by Pelli on either side of the river. The World Financial Center and the Winter Garden, as well as the building on our left. To the right, the very tall building with the cranes on it, that's called One World Trade Center. That's going to be New York City's tallest building, and it's been assigned a symbolic number for its height. It's going to be 1,776 feet tall. That's 1776. The date of the Declaration of Independence here in the United States. Now, it's going to be the same 16-acre campus that it was before. There'll be 4 other office buildings on it. There's a second building there, the shorter one with a crane on it, so that's 2 of them. Between them will be 2 more buildings, and in the background is a 5th building that we can't see at the moment, so 5 office buildings. But there are 2 other additions, 2 significant additions this time around. The first is a performing arts center, and that's what the very creative architect Frank Gehry has been commissioned to design. He's famous for designing the Disney Concert Hall in Los Angeles. He's most famous for the Guggenheim Museum branch in Spain. So a performing arts center here means we'll be having music, theater, dance, and opera with people coming together from all around the world as audiences. It's a very striking addition. The other addition is the all-important memorial, and for that was held the world's largest ever design competition. The winner was the Israeli-American artist Michael Arad. The design is called Reflecting Absence, and the street-level part of it opened on September 11th of last year. There are beautiful trees in the plaza, and right where each of the twin towers stood is now an open space that goes down into the ground. Waterfalls flow down into them. The names of those that perished in the attacks are written on brass plaques that surround the waterfalls. Nice big lettering for the names. Next year, the second phase of the memorial will open, and that will be an underground memorial museum next year. Now, the memorial has received tremendous response. When it opened, very favorable articles and reviews in the press about it. And on a personal note, I have a friend that works as a steam fitter in that One World Trade Center building, and he was there on September 11th of 2011. That was the day that it was opened for the families of the victims. The next day it opened to the public. And he said that throughout that day, they expressed tremendous satisfaction and gratitude, a lot of positive feeling for the memorial. So it's good to know that those most closely affected by what occurred are very pleased with the memorial that was created there.
Sandy straight ahead. Look, right straight ahead. Hurricane Sandy damage straight ahead there.
So there's a very big tan brick structure right here on the left at the end of the pier. Right here, just ahead of us, on the left, the very big tan brick structure right there. Well, if you look across the river to the Manhattan side to our right, you'll see its mirror image, its twin over there. We're passing over right now the world's most heavily traveled tunnel under the river from Manhattan to New Jersey. Is the Holland Tunnel, and these are the ventilators at either end of it. Fresh air in, exhaust fumes out. The Holland Tunnel was designed by the renowned that was designed by the ingenious engineer Clifford Holland. The Holland Tunnel.
So this is where they get their oxygen air from, for the Holland Tunnel pipes.
So, folks,
generators, etc.
Well, a couple things I want to talk about visiting New York. Well, first of all, if you're interested in going to any shows, Broadway or off-Broadway shows, the two TKTS booths, great deals on theater tickets. One's in Times Square, 47th and Broadway. The other's down at the South Street Seaport. Now, so they sell tickets for that day's show only. If you want to go to the theater Sunday, you go on Sunday to try to get tickets. Now, they won't have the sold-out shows, but they certainly have a big selection. So my recommendation is to get a listing and circle a bunch of shows that you think you'd like to see, and go get right in line, and then send a scout forward to take a look at the board and see what's up there, come back with a report, and then you start debating, oh, let's do this one, let's do that one. But you have to stay flexible, because as you move in line, it can change. The one that you decide on might come off the board, or the one that you really like. So a lot of times it's a split-second decision, and you get your tickets and off to the theater. You go. Always a lot of fun. Love to do that. Now, if you're interested in going to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, one of the world's great art museums, they're open late tonight. On Saturdays, they're open until 8 o'clock. And if you go there, you do not have to pay the full price admission, folks. It's a city-owned building, and the museums there have a policy. It says, whatever the price is, I think it's $25. It's under it says suggested donation, so you can pay whatever you like. Sometimes I'm in line behind a big group of people. I see them putting out a whole lot of money. You don't have to do that. So pay whatever you're comfortable paying if you go to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Folks, if you are interested in any other Gray Line bus tours or the deals that they have with the museums or the Empire State Building or some of the other major attractions, they're for sale on the pier, so you can talk to any of the people with the red on the pier, both inside and out, and they can tell you about any of the other Gray Line bus tours or attractions. Okay. So let's see, what else do I want to tell you? Right off of Times Square, 42nd Street, between 5th Avenue and 6th Avenue is Bryant Park, and they have ice skating there. If you have ice skates here, it's free. They have them in also, and they have an excellent market there. It's a terrific marksmanship there. It's really nice stuff. It's just a really pleasant place to be in the park there. You get some hot chocolate, walk around. It's right on 42nd Street. is an excellent tribute and a terrific boat, the 343. Next to it, just past it, is that pier. It's kind of a homely little pier. There's a big rusted arch at the back of it, nothing docked there. The reason I point out that little pier to you, that was part of Chelsea Piers, which was home to the White Star Lines. That's the pier where the Titanic was headed 100 years ago. The ill-fated Titanic would have had a big celebratory arrival there, a very heralded, famous ship, and of course never made it with it these days with this forlorn-looking little pier.
Lost and saved, White Star Cunard, right there. Cunard Shipping Lines. Number of souls lost.
All right, folks, a little bit of a longer story for you as we come back up the river. I know that many of you that are on the boat that came from all over the world heard about the incredible landing of the airplane in the water here in New York City. I'll tell you the story now. This was January of 2009. That was the middle of an extremely harsh winter when a U.S. Airways passenger jet took off from LaGuardia Airport. That's in Queens on the other side of Manhattan. The plane went north, which is the same way that we're traveling now. And 3 minutes into the flight, that plane encountered a flock of Canada geese. And the net result is that the plane's engines were disabled. So they received immediate clearance to go back to LaGuardia, as well as clearance for a nearby New Jersey airport, a little bit north of us, a small airport called Teterboro. But the pilot surveyed the situation and very quickly made the judgment call that he did not think they'd make it to either airport. At that point, their best hope to survive became a desperate measure, and that was put the plane down into the Hudson River. And he did so just a short stretch up ahead of us, about 1,000 yards or so up the river here, a little bit closer than where the boat that's crossing there, about 2/3 of the way to that boat. That's about where the plane came down. What a tremendous landing it was, right? And I thought it was great to learn about the pilot Chesley Sullenberger, known to the world now as Sully. What a breath of fresh air, a very likable guy, and that's terrific. But what's really important, of course, is the fact that he's such a true professional who trained so thoroughly all throughout his career. And when this unlikely event came, he was ready for it. He handled it with excellent judgment and tremendous execution, guiding that plane down safely into the river. Okay, so they've landed the plane. Everyone's okay, right? Well, they were absolutely not out of danger. That was the coldest day in New York City in over 30 years. No one lives long in water that cold. And unfortunately, a few passengers jumped into the river. They were afraid the plane would blow up. Now, it just took off. It was full of fuel. Just impacted the river, so that was a natural thought to happen. In those conditions, that was not a good move to make. And the plane was filling with water. It was starting to sink. So this was a terribly perilous situation. But besides Sully's skill, they had good fortune on their side. The New York Waterway played a major role. Folks, you're actually on a New York Waterway boat. This company partners with City Sites and Gray Line for the boat tours, and it's primarily a ferry boat company. Just past the pier where this tour boat will dock is the very big New York Waterway ferry terminal, and there are a ton of boats in and out of there all day long. Well, of course, those boats are out running their routes up and down the rivers, but as fate would have it, that plane came down in the late afternoon at the time of day, and all the ferry boats head over here to the New York Waterway Workdock, a little bit ahead of us on the New Jersey side, so that they can change shifts. New captains, deckhands come on and relieve those to work the early part of the day. So the boats are actually all gathered in this part of the river near where the plane came down. What a stroke of fortune that was. The first New York Waterway boat arrived at the plane in under 3 minutes, and they had to move slowly at the end there so that they could skillfully and cautiously approach the plane, not push a wake at it, and knock other people into the river. It was then literally surrounded by other New York Waterway boats. Then other boats came onto the scene as well. And as it turned out, there were 155 passengers and crew on the plane, and they all survived. And of those, 144 of them were rescued by New York Waterway. It was an amazing story.
Wow,
All the way around from the judgment by the pilot, the landing, the behavior of the passengers and crew throughout the ordeal, to the very challenging water rescue. And we're left with the enduring image of all those people standing on the wings of the plane in the icy, frigid Hudson River. And it happened just a little bit ahead of us, right out here, just a little bit ahead to our left, and it's known now as the Miracle on the Hudson. Miracle on the Hudson. The plane is now in a museum in, I think it's North Carolina. I got to see some interesting photos. Okay, so the tugboat company that got the job to salvage the plane, the photographer, freelance photographer, one of his jobs is working for this tugboat company, and pictures end up in tugboat trade magazines, that kind of thing, right? Well, he got a call. Come and do the photos, right? And so we had an exhibition, and I got to hear him speak about it. He's the only one to get all the photos of the operation. They took the boat down to the plane down to Battery Park, and they brought the biggest crane in the Northeast, happened to be in Boston, brought it down here, lifted it out, cut the wings off, got the fuel out of it, and then he's got pictures of it on the back of this long flatbed truck, the fuselage being driven through Manhattan in the middle of the night. Really quite an operation, very interesting. That up ahead of us to the right is a big gray aircraft carrier, and it's a retired naval carrier called the Intrepid. It's a museum. Unfortunately, it's closed for the moment due to problems from the storm. They said early December, so it may reopen very soon. Could even be today. I don't think so, though. But anyway, we get to see on top of it their new acquisition, the Space Shuttle Enterprise. The Space Shuttle Enterprise on the deck of the Intrepid Naval Museum. The Intrepid did service in the Second World War, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, a very storied ship. And normally the Enterprise is covered with a big gray dome over it, so we get to see it right now, though, as a result of what's occurred here.